Alone in the dark. True home alone incidents that defy explanation. Before we start, look around your room. Every vent, every shadow, every screen. Now imagine someone's been watching through one of them for months. These stories aren't urban legends. They happened. Subscribe now and comment which one keeps you up tonight. Story 1. The break-in caught on baby monitor. It began with a sound so small, so ordinary, that Thomas Lewis didn't even notice it at first. Just a faint click in the quiet of his Portland home, the kind of sound every house makes when it settles at night. His wife, Rachel, was at work on the night shift, and their 6-month-old daughter, Nora, was asleep upstairs. Thomas sat half asleep on the couch, a muted crime documentary playing in the background. The glow from the TV flickered against the walls, mixing with the hum of the baby monitor beside him. 2:41 a.m. The time glowed faintly on the digital clock. Then the baby monitor blinked. Thomas looked at it lazily, expecting to see his daughter rolling in her crib or stirring in her sleep. But instead, the screen was just static. White, grainy noise. He frowned. That had never happened before. He leaned forward, tapped the side of the monitor, and the static cleared. For half a second, the nursery came into view. The crib. The soft nightlight glowing near the window. Everything looked normal. And then someone moved. A tall, dark shape shifted in the far corner of the room, near the crib. It wasn't a trick of light. It wasn't a shadow. It was a person. Thomas's breath caught. He blinked, and the feed went black again. Static. The baby didn't cry. There was no noise upstairs at all. The silence made it worse, like the house was holding its breath. Thomas jumped from the couch and sprinted for the stairs, his heart hammering. He didn't even think to grab his phone. He just ran. The hall was dark. Every step on the wooden floor sounded thunderous. As he reached Nora's room, he felt cold air spilling through the cracked window. He shoved the door open. Empty. The crib was there. The night light flickered. Nora was asleep, perfectly fine. No one else was in the room. He checked under the crib, the closet, behind the door. Nothing. Every lock was in place, the window latch untouched. No footprints, no open drawers. Just that eerie cold air and the soft hiss of the baby monitor still flickering downstairs. Thomas tried to tell himself it was a glitch, a reflection, a lagging frame from an old recording. But when he went back to the living room, the monitor light was off. Not blinking, not static. Someone had unplugged it. And Thomas knew he hadn't. The next morning, Rachel came home, exhausted from the hospital. Thomas told her everything. She didn't believe him at first, until she checked her phone. Their monitor app automatically uploaded footage to the cloud. Rachel opened the feed from that night. At 2:41 a.m., there it was. A faint figure standing over the crib, motionless. It leaned forward slightly, its head tilting as if studying the sleeping child. And then, just before the static, it turned toward the camera. Rachel dropped her phone. The police came within the hour. No forced entry. No signs of a break-in. The windows were locked, the door secure. One of the officers suggested a Wi-Fi interference glitch. Another called it a software bug. But Rachel wasn't buying it. "Someone was in my baby's room," she said. "I saw them." When the detective replayed the clip, his face changed. He didn't say a word, just wrote something in his notepad and asked if they'd ever had issues with their Wi-Fi cameras before. Rachel checked the cloud history again, and that's when she noticed something worse. Several nights of footage, completely gone. Random nights. Each missing file began exactly at 2:41 a.m. 2 days later, the Lewis family got an anonymous email. The subject line read, "Check your footage again." No message body. No sender name. Rachel's stomach twisted. She opened the app again, this time scrolling back further, weeks back. One file from early February caught her eye. The recording began normally. The crib. The soft nightlight glow. But halfway through, a faint voice whispered, too low to make out the words. Then something shifted the camera. The angle changed slightly, like someone had reached behind it. For a split second, the reflection in the window showed a human silhouette. Then it cut out. That was enough. Rachel took Nora to her sister's house. Thomas stayed behind to handle the police follow-ups. That night, around 3 a.m., Rachel's phone buzzed. It was Thomas. His voice shook. He said, "The monitor just turned on by itself." Rachel froze. "What do you mean?" "It's showing 2 camera feeds now. One for Nora's room and another one. No label, just black." "Did you click it?" "Yeah," he whispered. "It's dark, but I can hear something." "What?" He hesitated. "Breathing." When police returned, they tore through every inch of the house. They even pulled apart the vent covers, thinking someone had crawled through. Nothing. Until one officer went out back, near the fence separating the property from the next house. There, beneath a pile of wet leaves, he found an old baby monitor. The same brand. Modified. Wires exposed. They brought it in for testing. The tech said it wasn't transmitting video, it was receiving it. Someone had turned it into a scanner. It could pick up nearby baby monitor frequencies, even those using Wi-Fi encryption. Whoever was watching knew how to manipulate these systems, to hack, record, erase. Rachel didn't go back home after that. Thomas packed their things in silence. They moved out within a month. But before they left, he went upstairs one last time to take down the camera. The moment he unplugged it, he noticed something carved faintly into the wall behind it. At first, it looked like scratches. But when he shined his phone light on it, he realized it was a message. "You looked right at me." No one ever figured out who it was. The police never found fingerprints. The modified monitor was traced to an online auction site, purchased under a fake account. A few months later, the new owners moved in. They repainted the nursery, filled it with plants, and replaced the Wi-Fi system entirely. But one night, around 2:40 a.m., the woman who lived there woke to a soft noise coming from her phone. A notification from an unknown app she didn't remember installing. Said, "New camera connected." She opened it, confused, and the live feed showed a baby's crib. Not hers. Not her house. But the room looked familiar. Pale blue walls, a window in the corner, a small night light glowing near a crib. Then the camera moved slightly, as if someone was holding it. And for a moment, before the screen went black, she swore she saw a pair of eyes, watching her through the feed. Story 2. The Stalker at the Back Window. It started as nothing more than a feeling. The kind that crawls across your skin when you're alone but swears someone's there, watching. For weeks, Emily Carter, a 26-year-old grad student living alone in Boise, Idaho, had brushed it off. She told herself it was the late night studying, the caffeine, the wind rattling her back window. But deep down, she knew it wasn't that simple. It began with her porch light. Every night, right around midnight, it would flicker. Once, twice, then go dark. She replaced the bulb 3 times. It always happened again. Always at midnight. Her landlord said it was a wiring issue. Her friends said it was nerves. But Emily couldn't shake it. The sense that someone was outside, standing just beyond that light, watching. Then came the footprints. They appeared after a light snowfall, just a faint trail of boot marks in her backyard, leading up to her back window, and stopping there. No return prints. Just a line to the house. She told the police. They checked the perimeter, found no sign of forced entry, no cameras, no prowlers. They told her to keep the blinds closed and call if it happens again. It did. 3 nights later, Emily was lying in bed, scrolling through her phone, when her cat hissed, a low, strange sound that froze her mid-scroll. She looked toward the window. The blinds were drawn, but a faint shadow moved behind them, tall, broad-shouldered, shifting slowly side to side. Her heart stopped. Then the sound came, hif, hif. Someone was tapping on the glass. Gently. She couldn't scream. She couldn't move. The taps came again, slower this time, almost deliberate, like whoever was out there knew she was listening. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking, and started to dial 911, but the tapping stopped. And that was somehow worse. She waited, barely breathing, until the faint hum of her refrigerator was the only sound in the room. Then she pulled herself out of bed, inching toward the window. She hesitated, then yanked the blinds open. Nothing. Just her reflection staring back, pale and terrified. She checked outside. The snow was untouched. No footprints this time. But when she leaned closer to the glass, she saw it. A small, greasy smudge, like someone had pressed their face to the window, right where her reflection's eyes would have been. The next day, Emily called the police again. Same officer. Same shrug. They told her it was probably a prank. She tried to move on. She even installed motion lights and a small camera facing the backyard, one of those budget models that connected to her phone. That first night, the camera pinged her at 12:03 a.m., motion detected. Her stomach dropped. She opened the feed. Nothing but darkness. The sensor light flickered on, illuminating her yard and the edge of a figure slipping out of frame. A man, wearing a dark hoodie. He'd been right there, staring into her camera, then he ducked away. Emily called the police again. They arrived 20 minutes later, checked the area, and found a single thing. A cigarette but near the fence, still warm. No prints. No evidence. Just one officer's words before leaving that stuck in her mind. Whoever it is, they're getting comfortable. Days turned into weeks. The visits didn't stop, they just got bolder. Sometimes Emily would come home from class and find her back door slightly ajar, even though she'd locked it that morning. Other times, small things were moved, her keys, her mail, the dish towel she swore she'd left on the counter now hanging from the oven handle. She changed the locks. Twice. One night, she came home to find a folded note tucked under her welcome mat. Said, "Why do you close the curtains now?" That was the breaking point. Emily called her brother, and he came to stay the weekend. They set up extra locks, nailed the window shut, and decided to stay awake that night, just in case. Nothing happened until 2:17 a.m. The motion camera sent another alert. Emily and her brother huddled over her phone, watching the feed in real time. The yard was empty until the porch light flickered. Then a shape stepped out of the shadows. He moved slow, casual, as if he knew exactly where the camera was. He stared straight at them, and then he smiled. Not a grin, not a threat, just come. He lifted something small in his hand, a keychain. It gleamed in the motion light. Emily recognized it instantly. It was her spare house key, the one she'd lost weeks ago. Her brother bolted for the back door, but by the time he got outside, the man was gone. The police took it seriously after that. They dusted for prints, canvassed the area, even installed a patrol near the street for a few nights. But the man never came back, at least not there. 3 months later, another woman across town reported an eerily similar case. Late night tapping, footprints ending at her window, cigarette butts by the fence. Her description matched Emily's stalker exactly. Calm eyes. But there was something else in the report that chilled Emily when she read it later in the local paper. The second woman had seen his face up close, reflected in her TV screen as she sat frozen on her couch. He was holding something in his hand, the small camera. Emily eventually moved states. New number, new home, new locks. She thought she'd escaped it. Until one night, unpacking boxes in her new apartment, she set her phone down on the kitchen counter. When she picked it back up, there was a notification she didn't recognize. Your camera has been paired successfully. She froze. She didn't own a camera anymore. The notification disappeared before she could screenshot it. That night, as she lay awake, the old feeling came back, that prickling crawl across her skin. She glanced toward her window, just to be sure. And there, reflected faintly in the glass, was a soft, rhythmic movement, like someone breathing. Story 3. The man hiding in the air vent. When Tyler moved into the second-floor apartment on Birch Avenue, he thought it was a fresh start. The place was small, just 1 bedroom, 1 bath, but the rent was decent, and after the chaos of a recent breakup, the silence felt like therapy. The first few nights were uneventful. He unpacked slowly, filled the space with thrift store furniture, and spent evenings watching reruns with the window cracked open for fresh air. But by the 4th night, he noticed something strange. It started with a draft. A cold stream of air that seemed to come from nowhere. At first, he thought it was normal, old buildings breathed, right? But this felt different. It wasn't random. It pulsed. Like someone taking slow, steady breaths through the vent above his bed. Tyler tried to shake it off. Maybe the air system was old, maybe the ductwork had leaks. But then he heard it again, around 2:40 a.m., that faint rhythmic inhale, exhale. Too human to be mechanical. He got up, climbed onto a chair, and pressed his ear against the vent. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, clear as day, something shifted inside. Metal creaked, followed by a faint scraping sound, like fingertips brushing against aluminum. Tyler stumbled back, heart pounding. He grabbed a broom handle and jabbed the vent. A small puff of dust fell out, then silence. He barely slept that night. The next morning, he called the landlord, who promised to send maintenance to check it. The guy came by, unscrewed the vent cover, shined a flashlight inside, and shrugged. Just air pressure, man. These ducts run across the whole building. Tyler nodded, pretending to believe him. But that night, the breathing came back. Slower now, like whoever or whatever was inside was listening for him. At one point, he swore he heard a whisper, "Don't close the vent." He sat up, every nerve screaming. The voice was faint, distant, but real. He turned on every light, unplugged the fan, shut off the air conditioner. The whisper didn't stop. It repeated, low and deliberate, until he unplugged the entire monitor unit that powered the apartment's smart thermostat. Then, silence. He didn't tell anyone. Not yet. He needed proof. 3 days later, Tyler bought a cheap endoscope camera, one of those small devices that connects to your phone, and slid it into the vent opening. The narrow tube snaked through the dusty ductwork, showing cobwebs, lint, and rust. But then the image flickered. He froze. There, at the far corner of the vent, a shape. Rounded. The camera refocused, and for a split second he saw it. An eye. He dropped his phone. The screen cracked. For the next few minutes, he just stood there, staring at the vent. The air inside seemed to hum now, vibrating like it was alive. Tyler grabbed his car keys and left the apartment, driving aimlessly until sunrise. When he returned, he tried to convince himself it was some optical illusion, a trick of the light. But every instinct in his body said otherwise. So he decided to take action. He set up his phone on video mode, leaning it against a lamp facing the vent. He let it record overnight while he slept on the couch, away from the bedroom. The next morning, he checked the footage. For the first 2 hours, nothing. Then at 3:12 a.m., the vent cover shifted. Slowly, carefully, the metal grill tilted forward. A thin, gray hand reached out. Tyler stopped the video there, unable to breathe. He didn't watch the rest. He packed a bag, called the police, and told them someone was hiding in his walls. The officers arrived within 20 minutes. They inspected the vents, crawled through the attic access, checked every room. No one. They told him the footage was unverifiable, could have been staged. But Tyler knew what he saw. He showed them the bent vent cover, the fingerprints on the edge. One officer, older and quieter than the rest, frowned. "You said you just moved in, right? You know this building used to be part of a mental health facility." Tyler blinked. "What?" The officer nodded. "They converted the upper floors into apartments about 10 years ago. The vents still connect across some of the old wards." Tyler's stomach dropped. After the police left, he searched the building's history online. Sure enough, the second floor, where he lived, had once been patient housing. The ventilation system linked multiple rooms together back then for air circulation and, reportedly, for observation. The more he read, the more the unease grew. One patient's name came up repeatedly, Elliot Crane, a man institutionalized for years due to paranoid delusions about people in the vents. He'd vanished just before the facility closed. No record of discharge. No record of death. Just disappeared. That night, Tyler couldn't resist. He set up the camera again, this time live streaming it to cloud storage. Around 1:50 a.m., the vent began to rattle. He stayed perfectly still on the couch, watching through his phone screen. The vent cover slowly slid open again, but this time, instead of a hand, he saw movement deeper inside. A face. Pale, hair matted, eyes black from the dark. The figure was pressed against the metal, mouth slightly open, lips moving as if mumbling. Tyler's phone vibrated in his hand. A notification popped up, motion detected, recording saved. Then the voice returned, louder now, echoing through the duct. "I told you, don't close the vent." He bolted for the door. When maintenance opened the duct system the next morning, they found something that made every person in that room back away. At the far end of the vent, deep behind the insulation, was a small hollowed space, big enough for someone to crawl into. Inside were blankets, empty food wrappers, and dozens of small holes drilled into the metal. Peering through those holes gave a direct view into the apartments below. But that wasn't the worst part. They found a driver's license wedged into the corner. It was old, discolored. The name read Elliot Crane. The photo matched the face Tyler had seen on the footage. Police later discovered that someone had been accessing the building's crawlspace through an abandoned maintenance hatch in the basement. They believed Crane had been living in the vents for years, maybe decades, surviving on whatever he could find. But when they tried to trace him, he was gone again. The vents were empty. Tyler moved out the same day. But the footage he captured continued to circulate online, especially the last clip, the one police didn't release. In the final seconds of the recording, after Tyler fled the apartment, the camera kept running. The vent door fully opened, and the pale figure crawled out into the room. He looked directly into the camera, smiled faintly, and whispered, "I was here before you." Then, as if pulled backward by something unseen, he vanished back into the dark opening. The timestamp on the footage glitched, jumping backward by exactly 1 year. That apartment is still listed online today, occasionally re-rented, always empty again within weeks. Tenants complain of the same thing: cold air, strange drafts, faint breathing in the walls. And when the property manager tried sealing the vents completely, they found the screws removed again, every single one. If you thought this story was terrifying, wait until you hear what happened in the next one. Subscribe before it drops.